the third decade of the 21st century. Time, many had begun to notice, was tightening, coiling like a spring. It seemed that soon it would no longer hold, and with explosive force, would uncoil, scattering to the winds all that had hardened, settled like silt, and fossilized in the webs of habit. Returning once again from one of her solitary evening walks, Lyra suddenly remembered that the woman she had recently met by chance in the park had invited her to visit, giving her the house number. As it turned out, she lived nearby, in a small house with her older sister. Lyra had promised to stop by in a couple of days. And since it was on her way, she decided to go. The old woman's house stood on the next street, the one that led down toward the coast. With some effort, Lyra opened the sagging wooden gate, sunken into the sandy path leading to the porch. She cautiously peeked into the yard, checking for dogs. Seeing nothing but a gray cat rustling through the thick raspberry bushes and a pair of cawing crows, she confidently approached the house. The low windows, with crooked and aging shutters, were tightly curtained. For some reason, it felt as if no one had lived here in a long time. Lyra knocked gently. Silence. She knocked again, more firmly this time. From behind the door came the shuffling of slow footsteps, as if someone were dragging behind them a lifetime's worth of memories. "Who's there?" a high-pitched, almost childlike voice called from inside. "Margarita Stepanovna? It's Lyra. We met a few days ago in the park." There was a loud click, and the door opened to reveal a tiny, fragile old woman, neatly dressed in a patchwork dress of varied textures, shapes, and colors. A bright turquoise bonnet was tied around her head. She looked like a fairy tale Columbina. "Ah. Come in, dear. Rita's not home at the moment. I'm her sister, Faya. I think I know why she invited you." To Lyra's surprise, the old woman moved with a light, sprightly step, shuffling into a sunlit room. "Something feels off," Lyra thought. "What's your name, beauty?" asked Fina Stepanovna, rummaging through some papers and trinkets on an old writing desk. "Lyra. I live nearby. On the next street." Why did I tell her that? She didn't even ask where I lived. Despite her age, the old woman had an unexpectedly radiant, almost glowing appearance. "Ah. There it is. What was I thinking? It's been right here all along." She picked up a small object that had been resting on a large, sky-blue book. "Tell me, Lyra, since you moved here, has anyone been looking for you?" The sudden question struck Lyra like a flash of lightning. "Oh, but what am I doing, keeping you on the doorstep like that?" "Wait right here, darling, I'm going to bring you some of my rose jam. I promise, you've never tasted anything like it." With that, the odd little woman bustled into the next room, calling out over her shoulder. "Oh, and by the way, the ring's for you. Try it on." The sudden silence that fell over the house unnerved Lyra. Trying not to overthink this strange situation, she approached the table and picked up the ring. It was left sitting there so deliberately. On the tarnished silver were engraved the words, "Listen to the heart, and you shall find. The path will lead." Standing still in uncertainty, she slipped the ring, almost reverently, onto the ring finger of her left hand. To her surprise, it fit perfectly. And in that instant, a quiet clarity lit up her mind. She suddenly saw where the source of that mysterious light in the room came from. What she had taken for little bulbs were actually living beings, fluttering under the ceiling with tiny transparent wings. Their bodies resembled butterflies, but on their delicate human-like heads they wore strange headdresses reminiscent of those worn by Tibetan monks. They flew in silence, gathering in playful flocks, dancing from one corner of the room to another. And when they reached the center, they formed a glowing circle, watching Lyra with a mysterious half-smile. "Why are you standing there? Go! Go! Run!" pulsed in her mind. But where is the old woman? What does all this mean? Panicking, Lyra headed toward the door. But where the entryway had been just 10 minutes earlier, she now found a dark, dusty storeroom, piled high with clutter. Where is she? What kind of trick is this? She rushed to the door through which Margarita Stepanovna had vanished and nervously pressed the handle. With a tortured creak, the door gave way. A salty sea breeze, tinged with the fragrance of roses, brushed gently against her face. Struggling with the door that the old woman had opened so effortlessly, Lyra stepped outside, onto the coast. On either side of the golden sand path leading to the house, vast glass greenhouses bloomed in a symphony of color. White, yellow, coral, crimson, the roses shone with fresh majesty and beauty. And then she saw in the corner near the gate, a bush of azure blue roses. It was stunning, immaculately shaped, like a bouquet prepared as a gift. She moved closer. Crystal dewdrops shimmered on the petals, like tiny suns resting on the sky blue silk. Her heart fluttered like a bird sensing the coming of spring. Somehow, deep within, she knew these flowers were meant for her. It was a breathtaking mystical experience even for Lyra, whose life moved to the rhythm of starlight. And yet, even her nightly journeys were becoming more and more real, in feeling, in sensation, as though some divine alchemy were taking place. In the center of her inner universe, bridging the celestial and the earthly,